Lee, we're trying something technologically new today that I think will overcome some of the problems we've had with Wi-Fi in the past. There's a lot to discuss today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're looking well. A lot of people have commented on the last show we did together where I came to visit you that you're really looking better, healthier, and it seems like Virginia is agreeing with you. You feeling all right today?
Virginia and the PACE program. I'm in the program I'm in. I have a team of people helping me. So I have a healthcare team, a nutrition team, exercise team. It's really great.
It's excellent news, Lee. Everybody wants you to do well and improve your health and all that. You know, one of the ways that people can help sponsor Lee is by going to patreon.com/Stranahan. It's a great way to support Lee and to support independent journalism. People can get all kinds of cool information from Lee. What's been going on patreon.com/Stranahan lately, Lee?
Well, good question, Jason. I'll tell you, not much lately. And why? Because I don't know what to say. I mean, every day is like mega war or not, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I learned is if I do news one afternoon, by the time people read it, it's expired. You know, Trump's saying one thing and then another.
Yeah. No, it's been I agree, pretty confusing. You had a poll going on your X account. People can also follow you there on X at Stranahan, and that's a great way to keep up with what you're doing. You had a poll asking if Trump was right or if Tulsi was right, because Tulsi had testified before Congress saying that there were no nukes. What was that all about?
Then she pissed off a lot of people. Is the statement she made after that. So that's the kind of thing, like I say, everything changes in the course of an afternoon. So right now, I think, like, I asked a question also on my X. I asked people, if I'll ask you, do you think a war's going to start this weekend?
I don't know. I certainly hope not.
But you don't know, right?
Don't know.
So, being honest, you can't say, right?
Correct.
That's insane. And so a major war could start this weekend. In fact, Steve Bannon, my old boss, is saying a war is going to start. George Galloway is saying a lot of people follow, not I don't follow Bannon, but yeah, he's in the world. So a lot of people I follow are saying the decision has been made. Trump has decided to go to war with Iran this weekend.
Well, see, yeah.
I was going to say the problem is, let's say Trump said for sure a couple of days ago to Steve Bannon, we're going to go to war for sure. Does that mean we're going to?
Well, no, because you never know. Trump might be putting information out there to kind of, maybe he's trying to bluff and trying to achieve some diplomatic. And it would be very disappointing to me, Lee, if they start another war. Let me lay this out, because you and I haven't really had a chance to discuss this, and sometimes we agree on things and sometimes we disagree. But see, they're saying that, okay, we can't let Iran get a nuke, so we're going to go bomb them or destroy the country and remove the mullahs or something to prevent that. But you see, my feeling is, I agree, I don't really want Iran or any other kind of out-of-control country to have a nuke, but I don't think that bombing them can stop that. It's almost like you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, you know? We've heard about these different kind of suitcase nukes and things like that, and it just seems to me that if a country or even an individual has money and wants to get this type of device, how could you really stop that? It doesn't seem possible, does it?
Not really, no. And Alex Jones is also all over the place. He's saying he's been hearing for 15 years Iran has a nuke already. So
Yeah.
we're getting people saying that out there.
I would believe
we'll
that,
see.
honestly, right? I mean, Pakistan has nukes, China they could buy, and there's so many places they could get it from. Like I said, if you have money, it's in the former Soviet republics, couldn't you just get something like this, some kind of crude nuclear explosive device, if you had millions of dollars?
Maybe, but I think that they monitor this stuff pretty carefully. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I'm not sure. I don't think so. But also, so let's talk about what we can say. What we can say is whether it's going to work out for Trump politically. I don't know if a war is going to happen this weekend. Like I say, I don't know. No one knows. And my suspicion is that Trump doesn't know. That's honestly what I think. I
right.
don't think, I don't think there's some kind of 40 chess going on. I think Trump is generally getting a lot of conflicting advice from people he trusts, and Trump just trusts a lot of people. But
Yeah.
I mean, when he's out there attacking Tucker Carlson and contradicting what Tulsi's saying, and Tulsi can't be trusted either. You know, I mean, look, I mean, trusted on this war. That's what I'm saying.
Why do you say that? Because, well, so just so we can lay it out, first of all, we should let people who maybe haven't seen you before know that you're still recovering from strokes. And it's interesting to observe the recovery because some days your speech is very, very clear and some days less so. So I don't want people to make any kind of stupid jokes in the comments. But let's look at this for a second because I think this is the comment that Tulsi Gabbard made a few months ago.
Is what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate Al-Qaeda. I hate...
Oh, no, sorry, that's not it. There was some testimony that she gave where she said that she has intelligence that there is no development of nuclear weapons in Iran. And then now she's come and said that she agrees with Trump that they are developing a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Is that what you were upset about?
Yes. No, look, upset. It's too crazy to be upset. If I was going to be upset, I'd be dead. Makes sense? I think
Yes.
the only attitude to take is, we'll see. You know, this is what's happening. We'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting, Lee, because, I mean, we really don't know what Tulsi Gabbard has been told or what is... There's so much deception that goes on. Like, see, I was doing this thread earlier today on Twitter about Signalgate, right? And the thing that I was thinking about in there is that that was basically a setup, right? We had that guy, Mike Waltz. He inserted the Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, into a Signal chat. And that was a deception. So what I was wondering is it possible that back when Tulsi, like, I don't know if Iran is making a nuclear bomb or not. I mean, they've said they want one. It stands to reason that they would make one. So when Tulsi Gabbard says we have intelligence that they don't have it, how do we know that somebody didn't lie to her and tell her that?
By the way, where we heard Iran say that?
You're right. I haven't heard them say that.
Right.
But it is logical to presume that they would want one, given that Israel has them, the United States has them. They have advanced missile technology.
But they could, because here's one thing I think we do know. Russia does not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
It doesn't?
Yeah.
Why not?
Been very clear on that. Because it heightens international tensions.
Mm-hmm.
Just
he did also say that their relationship with Iran was stronger than ever, and they do help Iran with civilian nuclear reactors. I mean, maybe that's a way they can monitor their nuclear activity more.
Yes, I think so. But also, Cruz also said dealing with Iran is difficult.
Difficult.
Yes, he
I
said
can believe
that.
that. I believe that. You know, it's a cultural difference, Lee. When I did that ride film, Daydreams of Dubai, that's the first time I really ever dealt with like an Arab nation client, and they do have a different
Well,
way of dealing.
technically, the Iranians are Persians, not Arabs.
Forgive me.
This is just,
No, that was
I mean,
ignorant of me to say. But whatever
no,
country it
no,
is that you go
wasn't
to, even
ignorant.
yeah,
I'm just saying
it
the
was.
Arabs and Persians.
I didn't know the difference, so I was ignorant of those facts. But what I'm getting at is when you're dealing with, frankly, there's a difference even in dealing with people in New York versus LA when I was doing productions. So as you start going on these international diplomatic dealings, back in my days of doing 3D productions around the world, I shot in Mexico, Brazil, China, Korea, Dubai. They all had a different style of doing things. But the thing I was getting at is the client in Dubai, as soon as we were locked in and everybody was hired and the insurance was paid and all that, they started cutting things and cutting the budget and really putting me in a bad position. In fact, that production was one of the reasons why I had to stop my 3D company, but I don't want to go into too many details about that. There is something interesting that came out in my thread in this Signalgate thread. I know you were looking at this earlier. For people who might not have seen it,
Yeah.
Signalgate is basically over. And the thing that was interesting is this picture so remember that Mike Waltz said he doesn't know this guy, Jeffrey Goldberg, but then we have this picture of them at some event, maybe at the White House or I don't know, some fancy place where they obviously know each other. This is from this guy, Bernard Henri Levy. Do you know that guy, or Levi?
Don't know him. Never talked to him.
He says he is a filmmaker, but in fact, I think he is a CIA guy because Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty used to talk about this guy, and he showed up in Libya just as they were destroying the whole place, and he was going in and out of Libya. I mean, often people use journalism or documentary filmmaking as a, like a non-operational cover to be their sort of cover for being a CIA person.
It's a good cover. It is. It's a good cover because you can investigate things. You carry a lot of equipment. You carry recording equipment. So for that reason, it's a good cover, yes.
And you can travel around internationally, interview people and stuff like that. So I don't know. That was interesting to see this guy come up in the context of Signalgate. But, that's what I'm saying. With Tulsi Gabbard, there's just so much deception going on with Lawfare and the people who are setting up Lawfare. A lot of people still, I think, don't fully appreciate what Lawfare is all about. Like, to make Signalgate happen, to get them into court where they were trying to basically, they wanted a judgment saying that the practices of the Department of Defense were illegal. They wanted to force them to preserve all the signal messages, have this sweeping injunction declaring the agency's policies were unlawful, and they wanted to have oversight under this statute 44 U.S. Code, Chapter 31, Section 3101. They wanted to enforce stuff from the National Records Act. But I think, in part because of my amicus brief, he just delivered this completely toothless order where he's, forcing them to post a $1 bond, which is kind of like I don't know exactly why they do that, but it certainly seems like a low amount. And he only has to report the messages that have not yet been deleted. And I think, Lee, the reason that the judge did that is because he knows that if this went up on appeal, the points that I raised about the defects in the case were just absolutely appealable, and the case was going to go nowhere. So they almost pulled the ripcord on the thing.
Interesting. The other thing about Signalgate is Trump let Walls go. Actually, he moved him. He didn't let him go. He changed positions for him. It's a lateral move. So, because supposedly Walls was too Israel centered.
Huh.
You heard that, right?
I did not hear that. I heard that he had made him, the UN, I guess the ambassador to the UN, which is where they had Nikki Haley last time. I mean, isn't this kind of like just park somebody over there, make it look like you're not firing him, but get him out of the mix?
Well, in the case of Nikki Haley, I know better about that. Part of the thing is people don't see the power that she has. So, for instance, it might not sound like a big deal, but I think it is. When dignitaries come over, they go visit the museum, okay? Like at the Holocaust Museum, okay? Makes sense? Like, my voice is bad today. I'm sorry for that.
No, it's
But
okay.
does that make sense, though?
Yeah, they're visiting different sites and you need a dignitary to take them around.
And when they visited the Holocaust Museum, I think it was in 2017 or 18, is early in the administration, the first one. They went to the Holocaust Museum. Now, what was the museum exhibit at the Holocaust Museum?
I don't know.
Okay. I believe at that time, the museum exhibit was about Syria.
Huh.
Now, why is the Holocaust Museum talking about Syria?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, because it's used as a propaganda. Propaganda isn't just for people, If
Uh-huh.
you see.
Oh,
And
look, yeah, here's an article about it. It says, sometimes that does mean using our military. We did that very appropriately and very effectively in April after the Syrian regime used chemical weapons against its own people. These are Nikki Haley's remarks from this meeting at the Holocaust Museum. And we know they didn't use chemical weapons against their own people. That was a staged piece of nonsense, wasn't it?
well, I think so. I would say it pretty,
Yeah.
thoroughly, as thoroughly as I can while going there.
Right.
But for a variety of reasons. But you notice in the Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson interview, Ted Cruz is still bringing up those talking points about
he brought up a lot of
Syria.
stupid talking points. That Ted Cruz made a fool out of himself in that interview, I think. He was saying things about 9/11 that I didn't agree with. He was quoting the Bible. And I mean, he said a lot of I didn't think that was a very good interview for Ted Cruz.
Well, let's come back to the Bible in a second, because I have a point I want to make there. But Ted Cruz, I think, ended his presidential campaign aspirations. Would you agree?
I don't know
I
that
don't
he would
think,
have ever been president,
I,
but yeah, he wasn't
no,
good.
no, aspirations. I mean, he can't run even.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say one thing about his Bible interpretation. I've seen Candace Owens comment on that and Steve Bannon comment on that. And I don't agree with either of them exactly. Uh, because, like Ben said, well, it's a new covenant. Now, do you know about that, Jason?
I am really not well versed in the Bible, but I just think that Ted Cruz making political decisions based on the Bible doesn't agree with me in my way of thinking.
Well, so I think a lot of people think that. I agree. That's a point. But I want to make this point. Ben talked about the new covenant, okay? And that's where Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, okay, basically said, like, there's old laws, Old Testament laws, but with the coming of Christ, he said things are different. That's why Jews can't eat, trafe,
Uh-huh.
pork or
Yeah.
shellfish, but Christians can.
Uh-huh.
So see, that's a Christian view.
Right.
Now, and as far as he goes, he's right about the new covenant. What I mean by right is he's scripturally accurate. But what I notice about that argument is it implies that Jews thought the Israel, see what Cruz said was basically the Israel now is the Israel talked about in the Bible.
Well, what I heard him say was that people who praise the nation of Israel will go to heaven or something like that. But what I think I know about the Bible is that when the Bible in the Old Testament is talking about the nation of Israel, it means the people who were wandering through the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, right? I mean, isn't it talking about the ancient Hebrews, not necessarily the nation state that was created in 1948? The Bible couldn't have been thinking about that.
Well, Ben's argument, the New Covenant argument, implies that Jews think that that's what the Bible says. That Jews think that the Bible says this is Israel, right? See where I'm going with this?
I think this goes back to the whole Zionism versus Judaism thing.
And for me, I haven't talked to him yet. I can't talk to him today because it's Saturday. But I want to talk to the Jewish Jew I know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Rabbi Shapiro, yeah.
Right. My rabbi. So I say that.
Yeah. He is, though. He is your rabbi.
But he's a very smart person. Yeah, and I learned a lot from him. Rabbi means teacher, right?
Right. And he gives you guidance and you ask him about biblical stuff. I mean, look, I don't think you necessarily need to be Jewish to have a spiritual advisor who you speak to about matters. And Rabbi Shapiro, he's your rabbi. You consult with him about stuff.
And he's a good guy, too.
Yeah. So for people who aren't familiar with him, he speaks about the important differences between Judaism and Zionism, and he denounces Zionism as a political movement that is focused on the modern nation of Israel and has stolen certain things from Judaism, correct?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So I want to ask you, Rabbi Shapiro, does Judaism believe that the Bible says the Israel of today is the Israel mentioned? Because remember, the Old Testament, we have another word for it, right? The Torah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The Old Testament and the Christian Bible, the Jews don't call it the Old Testament. It's just the Torah. But it's the same book. Right? So my question for Rabbi Shapiro is, do Jews believe? And everyone I've seen analyze this, Bannon, Candace Owens, they're Christians. And I'm saying, put aside your Christianity. Because if Jews never thought it, then New Covenant argument doesn't apply. You see what I'm saying? If the Jews never...
We're getting into a little bit of a theological discussion, and I think I'm not qualified to be really making comments on that. My personal opinion was for Ted Cruz as a member of the United States Senate to make his decisions based on the Bible. I don't know if that really jives with the separation of church and state as far as I'm concerned.
Right. That's a good point. But I'm just saying, I don't think the Bible even applies. Because
that's what I mean, right? It was like an irrelevant thing that he brought up. It was weird.
And he's wrong. He's wrong. From talking to Rabbi Shapiro, I know his argument is the Bible doesn't say that. The Torah doesn't say that. So
he also seemed really nervously, didn't he? Didn't he seem thrown when Tucker Carlson was asking him about lobbying and AIPAC giving him money to do things for Israel? We need to continue our conversation in the sponsor exclusive segment because we're running out of time here, but people can join us on patreon.com/Stranahan. The sponsor exclusive segments with Lee are always simulcast on there. So get on to patreon.com/Stranahan and sponsor Lee. You'll be able to join us in just 5 minutes. People can also watch on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You know, Lee, I don't know if I told you this, but Odyssey.com has lost its payment processor months ago. And so there are still a bunch of people who are subscribed and getting the sponsor exclusive shows on Odyssey, but it's just basically they're getting them for free. So I appreciate everybody who has sponsored on Odyssey, but if they want to continue sponsoring Crowdsource the Truth, I hope they'll select another platform. People can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT, and you can subscribe there. Don't forget to follow Lee on X at Stranahan, and we'll be right back in 5 minutes. Stay with us. We're going to continue talking